Greetings.
What is today? It's the 11th of
Today
June.
is June the 12th.
Or it's the 12th? Oh, it's the 12th. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
2023.
2023. Because we know that 10 years from now, people are going to watch this and wonder.
If someone's going to want to know about Introductory Act, and here we'll be.
There will be. Hey, somebody's chatting in here. Oh, Carmen PDEZ.
I think that would be Fernandez.
It is. From Spain, Barcelona. All right. We're international. Fabulous.
Monday.
Oh, yes. And today.
Oh, got it right. Yay.
And today we are going to be talking about a little bit on the Introductory Act stuff, Get Moving. Phil and I are in the process of writing up courses, APA, CE courses. And we're also going to do a series of 1-hour ones. And where who showed up? Oh, Kaja. I was thinking. And this, so a couple of them are going to be introductory, Get Moving, which is value stuff, and another one's going to be introductory mindfulness meditation, which is show up to the present moment stuff. So introductory things. We're going to try and build out a whole beginning, intermediate, and advanced ACT series of courses. So somebody could literally, if they wanted to, do one at a time. And undoubtedly, we will package them all together into one large package.
Yes, we will.
And so you see the creative process happening as we present this and play with our thoughts and get it put together. So today is Get Moving, which if you're traditional ACT folks, it's value stuff. And so we'll go through a little bit. Well, we'll stick with that because it is important. I mean, Phil and I literally in the Matrix, we start with Get Moving. So I think somebody say, "Oh, Phil, Kevin, well, that Matrix guys, they don't do values." Yeah, well, we do Get Moving, and we'll get into we don't do the word value. We do values. We just don't do the
We are valuing, is what I would say. We are valuing.
We do valuing. We do the verb, but we don't talk about that word a lot because, well, it was troublesome. So that's
why. Cheap. Action's better. Getting moving.
Yeah, we like act. lots of action. Which, by the way, there's ACT, ACT. They and some people will still say that ACT, but they want it pronounced ACT. And of course, that was for action. And if you look at the subtitle of the first 1998 ACT book, it was an experiential approach to behavior change. Experiential, in their mind, it was you were up and moving. So from an original ACT point of view, from let's say mindfulness, well, they would have been talking about walking mindfulness. You were moving. Be better.
Yep.
You were moving along, and so that's very much so the spirit of it. So, and so we've begun a little bit of the Get Moving, Get Moving.
Yes.
ACT, they called it values. So, and right away when you say values, and nobody's ever, they don't know about acceptance and commitment training and therapy.
Never heard of it.
They just know values.
Right.
Well, their heads jump places. And of course, a lot of like politicians will talk about family values, whatever, so it can be a sort of a political thing. It's a lot of religiosity.
Heavy stuff.
heavy stuff in that, and values. And well, and that's the problem. You say that word and their heads go over there. And that's not what ACT was talking about.
No.
And as a matter of fact, it's a good idea to know what the purpose. There's actually a very specific purpose for the values talk of ACT. And you said to know that you need to go step back and look at the philosophy of thinking, philosophy of mind that ACT is based upon, which is it's I'm just going to say the workability model, meaning you do behaviors, you notice what's going on coming in through your senses and from your mind. You notice all of that stuff while you're doing the behavior, and eventually you notice that the behavior or behaviors are working to get you toward, drum roll, your values, what you value. Okay? And that's workability. The more technical term for it is functional contextualism, which of course fries the circuits of many people. You need never mention that to anybody, but that's the technical name. Even Steve Hayes says workability because he recognizes that how unworkable functional contextualism can be, at least those two words. But workability is it. You're looking for behaviors that work. Well, in order to learn behaviors that work, you need to have a destination in mind.
Yep.
So if I'm going to go from here in Maine to Chicago, well, that's it. I need to know I'm going to Chicago. And then as I do behaviors to get me to Chicago, I can say, well, are they working? Do I seem to be at least getting closer to Chicago? Okay. Well, so it's a direction. That's why they call it, and you'll hear it called a valued life direction.
Mm-hmm.
Valued life direction.
Yes.
And even that can get onerous. So, but it's very specifically there for that way of thinking. That okay, I'm just going to think of a human or any organism really, but in particular a human, and that human behaving and noticing if their behaviors are working. And then you say, well, working for what? Well, they decided to make it valued life directions.
The life you want.
And folks, essentially, you're heading toward what you want written on your tombstone.
Yep.
That's the heaviest thing. That's the heavy hit right there. And there's literally a tombstone exercise in the stuff of ACT. Do a little Boot Hill kind of gravestone thing and write your epitaph.
Here lies so and so.
All right, here lies, and then what you want to be remembered for, right? And so, literally, that kind of direction. Where are you headed? And so now, with that direction stated, set up front, now you can evaluate your behaviors in terms of whether they're working to get you there or not. That's what it's for. So it's actually very scientific.
Yeah.
It just is. It's scientific. So that's the point of view. And you say, well, who cares? Well, it's much different than, let's say, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is not looking at a life direction. It's looking to fix a problem. It's looking to fix depression. Looking fix things. Right. It's mechanism, and like a car. So you're going to fix the broken.
They got the bad spark plugs, put in the good ones.
That kind of notion, and many other therapies were built on that naturally because we've been in the Industrial Revolution since the late 1800s, and so that became the spirit of the times, what people thought about, and so they built fix-it things. And you'll hear that fix it mechanistic type of language in lots of things. So, and ACT, because it has that word acceptance on the front of it, it's basically saying, accept all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold off on that fixing stuff.
Yeah. Instead, focus on where you're going.
Yeah.
That's in a
That's
nutshell.
what matters at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's the way to put it, Phil. At the end of the day, what matters is, are you getting where you want to go?
Yeah.
And so it has that philosophy. So with that in mind, the very first ACT book was ACT for Depression. Blew that right up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's because people need to make money and they needed to market ACT and all
You need
kinds
to
of
get it out there. Yeah.
But it's actually a very false title. It really is. The ACT doesn't look to fix depression or anything. Now, if you said ACT with depression, bingo,
Uh,
that's it. So you'll oftentimes see Phil and I phrase titles like that way. It'll be ACT with PTSD or the ACT matrix with PTSD.
Right.
Notice the with. The with is the acceptance part. And basically, so yeah, you have a trauma memory. Yeah, you're suffering with it. And are you getting where you want to go in life?
Yep.
That's the phrase. So it's very important, and it's a lot of people enjoy it. Other people want the mechanistic model. Okay, but don't say if don't do ACT and think you're doing something other than the workability model. You're just doing workability.
Yeah.
Because if you switch off and start trying to fix something, you blow the mood.
Yeah. ACT goes out the window.
No longer ACT.
No, you're doing something else.
That's why it's important. So that's why, and now, colloquially, we talk to that stuff as get moving. Because humans, a whole lot of humans, for the most part, need to get moving. And they'd be sitting around watching TV and or just kvetching and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. And
Pondering and pontificating.
all kinds of good stuff like that. And that's not getting you anywhere. So really, so they called it get moving, which on the hexaflex was acceptance and diffusions over on the right side of the hexaflex. And so I put, initially values and committed actions essentially in the ACT matrix as well. So the right-hand side of the matrix is the get moving. So what happened with that, folks? So most books would have you do values exercises with people. It just so happened, Phil and I worked with populations that really didn't work very well.
No, it did not.
I mean, seriously, folks, it really did not work well.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like it, right? I mean, like more than half of them didn't like it.
Oh yeah.
It got you. You ended up doing a lot of, as Ricky Ricardo would say, splaining.
Yeah. Explaining, and I would call it cajoling in my case.
Cajoling, and you're trying to say, yeah, you know, yeah, and convincing, you know, you're going to convince them. And you just don't want to be in that space.
No.
That's just a crappy space to be in. It is not therapeutic whatsoever. You know, so it's just not. So we quickly, through in lots of discussions, got away from using the term values because, you know, we're not saying values are bad or anything like that. No, it's just that word led to a bunch of troubles, explaining, convincing, You know, like, why bring it up? You don't need to. So really we switched to what's important as they get moving, because you're going to move toward what's important.
To
That
you.
was pretty good, but it was abstract. And you say, what?
Yeah.
People may not know
What do you mean values?
right. They get lost.
What do you mean what's important?
Right. And it was better than values. It was
Oh
definitely,
yeah.
but and then along comes we got the idea to ask who's important to you. And bingo, that works the best. And it works so well, there's no reason for us to go searching for a better one. I mean,
Right.
99 point something percent of the time, it works. A person can give you a here it comes concrete answer to who's important. You know, my spouse, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my dog.
Kids.
And you don't care what. I mean, you say, well, a dog, that's not a person. We don't care. Remember, it's the directionality. I'm going to do behaviors towards something and notice that they work.
Right.
Okay? And believe me, there's behaviors that for your dog or any other pet that work and don't work. So that direction, that stated direction gives it. So that's why we're not particular about how they answer it, but essentially everybody answers it.
Oh yeah. Everybody
And,
responds to who's important.
and the point there then is now you're in the flow.
Yeah.
And your flow has not been broken with, well, now I got to explain what I really mean by value. Act means this by values, and you're thinking values is this, and we need to come to
Down the rabbit hole.
or down the rabbit hole, and instead it's like, who's important to you? Oh, my wife's important to me.
Yeah.
Bingo. we're going.
That's it.
Now we're off to Chicago, right? Remember,
Yep.
we're off.
We're heading down the road.
We're heading down the road, and we can now start noticing behaviors and how they work for my relationship with my wife, or how they work for my relationship with my children or neighbors or whoever the state is.
Whatever they say.
So now that's established, and so that's not the only reason we start with get moving. Act as a process, and the overall circular process of it is, well, from left to right, it's let go, show up, get moving. I mean, left to right, hexaflex or matrix. Let goes on the left, show ups right in the middle, and get movings over on the right. Hexaflex is the same way. And so you can start where you want because it's a circle. Like which part of the tire is most important?
Yeah, really. Where do you need to get the air in there?
It's not. You can start.
Pump it all up.
However, in practicality in Phil and I's life, it turned out that the get moving question of who's important was the best start. It was the best way to get rolling.
Right. Yep.
And others might find other ways, but we like to teach people what we've done and what we've, through trial and error, settled upon as something that's literally 99 point something percent workable for our purposes. It's a really high percentage, folks. So high that we're just cocky with it. We'll go anywhere. So,
Watch anybody.
So that's, by the way, the other reason why we ask who's important to you is because it settles your audience right down. So imagine you have a meeting of people. Some ACT is oftentimes done in business settings. It's ACT training, not therapy, training. So you go to bed, and the people they're out of sorts.
Oh yeah, they don't know what to expect.
And I know who the heck you are. You're one of the shrinky kind of people. Probably going to ask them how they feel.
You're gonna read my mind, that kind of stuff.
All that, and so and you walk in and you ask, hey, let's start with who's important to us. Let's have a conversation. And for example, my wife's important to me. have the matrix up and I write it down. And they go, oh.
Hmm.
I say, has anybody else got? Well, invariably, somebody else will pipe up and say, my husband, my girlfriend, somebody, they'll say it's important. They'll go, cool, yeah, right there. And now the conversation begins, and you can watch the audience just settle right down.
Mm-hmm.
Phil and I have done it literally hundreds of times.
Yes.
And they just settle right into. So you got a twofer there. One, it gets you solidly in the ACT process, the get moving, the
Yep.
workability.
They're responding. That's part of the process. They're responding.
And two, settles them right down.
Gives them something to do right off the bat.
Which makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah. We got the engine started is kind of what, all right, we got the engine
started and you're like, and you're good. Nobody's going to start arguing with you.
Nope.
Because literally, they're not going to argue with you about who's important.
You don't get any pushback. You don't get resistance.
And you don't push back. They'll say, I'll get him. I'll say, my aardvark is important. Great. Aardvark has 2 A's on the front.
2 A's and an R. Yeah.
All right. We'll write it up there. Well, I mean, we're not going to argue about anything. We're going to keep it up because remember, from the philosophical point of view, we're establishing that direction. Now, practically, almost all of us spend one heck of a lot of our behaviors in the service of our relationships with others. Now, often somebody says, me, I'm important. Well, there you go. That's the other. A lot of us spend a lot of behaviors moving toward me. Taking care of me. So fine. Either way, fine.
It's a full-time job.
So anything goes and put it in. They can say buildings and houses and trees.
Oh, yeah.
We'll write it down.
Yep.
Now, also in that practice, and I'll just go ahead and jump ahead a little bit of that ACT is radically non-judgmental. I mean, ACT, not just the matrix, all of ACT is radically non-judgmental, and that takes a little practice.
Yep.
This is a great way to practice it, if you're doing matrix work, because whatever somebody says, you go cool and write it down. You don't judge it. What somebody say to you once? Satan.
Yeah, a young teenage individual. I asked, who's important to you? And she said, Satan. And I said, all right then. Put it right there. Didn't bat an eye.
No, you don't bat an eye.
Right on going.
Whatever. Keep right on going.
Fine. Thank you for letting me know.
And so to roll back, so one, that helps you with the non-judgmental stance of ACT. And two, it's establishing that direction, that tree into distance, if you want, that one can then notice your behaviors and see if they're working to get you toward the tree or your spouse or whatever. Moving. Okay. So that's the get moving part of well, and the other is, of course, get moving.
Yeah.
The motivator.
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
What gets you moving? Because let's face it, with a whole lot of people, and most anybody that's having troubles, you start to doubt what to do next.
Yeah. What do I do?
You just don't know. I whenever I say those words, I think of the movie The Horse Whisperer, starring Robert Redford. And at one point in the movie, he's talking to lady he's having an affair with, I think. But he says, you know how it is when you get up in the morning and you know just what you need to do.
Right.
And well, the reason he said it is because of how many mornings he's woke up and he didn't know just what to do. And all of us had that. We don't know what to do. And so we get frozen. don't act, don't move. And so this only works if you're moving. Sitting and cogitating.
Ain't gonna cut it.
I understand that sitting's a behavior, and you can get yourself in even thinking that thinking's a behavior. Okay, but it ain't gonna get you there.
No.
Let's just face it, folks.
You're gonna need to act at the end of the day. Do something.
At the end of the day, you need to lift your, given that you're not a paraplegic or something, you need to get your ass off the seat. And if you are a paraplegic, you need to start rolling the wheelchair, whatever. You need to move.
Oh yeah. Right.
And get moving. And so then who's important becomes, and what's the fancy name for it? An augmental.
Yes, a motivative augmental, right?
A motivating augmental. That's it. And so that's where, when we're doing the matrix, we don't do it in this sequence, but eventually we get up to the upper right committed actions part. And that's where you start talking about behaviors you could do to move toward. And let's go to matrix talk. Yep. Who's important to you? So somebody comes back in and say, hey, what you been noticing? And they say, I noticed I did something for my wife. Oh, really? What was that? I went and got her flowers. Oh, really? Yep. And of course, here comes the joke. And not only did I get them, I gave them to her. All right. You did the whole thing, huh? You what? Then what'd you notice? And it goes like, but notice all this noticing is of this behavior of my wife is important to me. I went and got her flowers, delivered her the flowers, and I was noticing all of this all along. Okay? That's a true story of somebody who took the matrix and got moving with it. Okay. But you see, and then it's eventually we'd say, well, did giving your wife flowers, work for your relationship? In this particular case, yeah, it did. I am a spouse myself, and I've known a whole lot of spouses. And best I can tell, flowers are one of the better things you can do.
I would agree with that.
It's one of the more guaranteed workabilities.
That's a good pro-social move there, folks.
Usually works. You got to remember to do it, though. Remember?
There's the rub.
That's it. We all know they work great, but get to do it. You got to remember to do it. Flowers, cards. So that's what we're talking about, is that motion, that, gee, what can I do that I can notice that it works and do it. So, okay, with that example, well, how were you feeling at the time? Oh, actually, I was feeling pretty depressed at the time. Oh, wow. So you were feeling depressed and you went and got your wife flowers. Oh, notice anything else? Well, I'm always anxious. Person had PTSD. I used to work a lot with PTSD. I had, so you had PTSD symptoms and you got your wife flowers. Yes, that's acceptance, folks. That's it. I have accepted the depression, the anxiety, the trauma memories. I've accepted all of those. Check. Go get my wife flowers.
They're going along for the ride.
They just come along. And that's literally the act. But just because they're sitting in your backpack does nothing unless you're moving.
Oh yeah. That would be the deciding versus the doing, right, Kevin?
You got three frogs sitting on a log or sitting on a lily pad.
Yeah, whatever.
One of them decides to jump off. How many frogs are there on the lily pad? 3. He only decided to jump off.
Deciding's not doing, folks.
Deciding's not doing. So, famous someone. So yeah, this is doing it. Only in the doing do you get to evaluate workability. I'm kidding you not, folks. This is the philosophy of science, which, by the way, is highly akin to um, evolution science, natural selection, meaning I'm going to keep the behaviors that work and I'm going to trim the behaviors that don't work. That's selection. That's you doing the selecting. So, but in order for you to do that, you need to really notice. And that's where the other part of the introductory comes in. And we'll have one devoted to that. I mean, a 1-hour training, which is the show up. Okay. And the reason there being, folks, is that if you're just willy-nilly doing behaviors and you're not particularly noticing what's happening while you're doing the behaviors, you won't have noticed the purpose, the direction. 2, you won't have noticed your emotional state. 3, you may not even have noticed what's going on in your environment. You're sort of oblivious. I'm familiar with this.
Oh, I had a school full of people that what is it?
I've even done it myself.
Oh yeah.
Right. Well, so that means you're not showing up to the present moment. That means you're not there. Well, the chances of you learning anything from your behavior are pretty damn slim, right? And if you do learn something, it could be a random, weird thing that will really get you off in the wrong direction. Superstitious kind of stuff. So yeah, so no. So you want to be showing up to the present moment. However, now we go back to it. They're not really talking about sitting around showing up to the present moment. They want you they being Steve Hayes and company, walking around,
moving up here,
moving and showing up to the present moment while you're moving. So that gets us to another. We'll do an exclusive one on this, but that was the other side of what was not working for us with ACT. Me with post-traumatic stress disorder, Vietnam vets for the most part, Phil with
stuck students.
Yeah, very stuck. I mean, he was
they were on the road to dropping out, incarceration,
right,
even worse.
Yeah, that kind of students. And so, and strangely enough, in the ACT world, sitting meditations, and I think this is still true for many, seem to be that's just their thing. You know? So you sit and, not that I'm against sitting meditations, folks. Somebody asked us that once, but that's all well and good. However, it's not ACT, it's not action. So walking mindfulness or that kind of stuff is much more akin
somewhere.
That's more highly related to the mindfulness that they were envisioning rather than the sitting and contemplating the nature of the universe all within your mind, or letting go of all your thoughts and not having those at all. So, which can be powerful experiences. That's, once again, fine, but you would need to once again evaluate those to notice if they're getting you where you want to go in life, right? But ACT is really about walking mindfulness. Let's just call it that. You're doing something mindfully. Japanese tea ceremony.
Yeah, in the moment, paying close attention.
You're would, but
senses.
you're carefully. Oh, but eating, mindful eating. There you go. There's another one. People are very familiar with mindful eating.
Right.
That. So you would be notice. Okay, there's a meal in front of me. What's it for?
Hmm.
Wow, it's something to think about because
Uh-huh.
it actually need a direction, right? Well, keep me alive. There's one, but maybe it's Thanksgiving and I'm just
Yeah. I'm eating with my friends.
right. I'm out to dinner with my first date.
Yeah.
What, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff to do with eating, but you're eating, going about the stuff of it, but you do it mindfully. Doesn't mean you do it so mindfully that you're not engaged in what you're doing.
Right.
And that is the trick. That's the practice. That's the practice is to do things mindfully, yet still be fully engaged in what you're doing.
Being aware outside, inside.
Right. And that does take some practice because our maybe no time in history was good for that, but I guarantee you this time in history is crap for that. We got more distractions.
All these messages coming at us all day long.
And you just get all kinds of stuff to get you out of mindfulness, not mindfully, not being mindful of what you're doing. But once again, it doesn't look like you're a Buddhist monk or something. No. You're engaged. Think Michael Jordan playing basketball, okay, or your favorite basketball player.
Yep.
Or if you don't like that, Tiger Woods or Arnold Palmer or anybody in sports. Well, they're fully engaged, but they're very mindful.
Yeah.
Right. It's the twofer. Oh, they talk. Somebody like any of the quarterbacks. I mean, they got less than a second to read a field full of 250-pound people coming at them. You got to be engaged, folks, but acting at the same time. So all kinds of fun examples, but to get to that level takes practice, and that's why that's the practice of ACT. So it's not done. ACT as a training or a therapy is never meant to be cathartic in a single session. Right. Oh my God, I've seen the light.
No epiphany.
No, it's a practice. You get the practice going. And you practice and you practice and it's life, so you never stop practicing. It just becomes a way of life.
Yes.
A way of noticing. So there you go. We have the two biggies. We'll save the others for later. But first, we established a direction. The direction is so we have a tree in the distance. That's the way I like to think of it. But now you can glance up every once in a while and say, or ask, is what I'm doing working to get me to And then two, well, I need to wake up and notice if I'm moving. Like if you get your mind in China
Right.
and wander around for a few hours, you may lose track of the tree. Oh no.
What are you doing anyhow before I got it?
Yeah, where the hell am I? What
Right.
was I doing? Right.
What's I up to?
I think I've had days like that.
How about when you walk into the room? Why did I come in here? Right?
Oh man, they've studied that. They think it's a change in context.
Yeah. Oh yes.
You move from the living room. You had the memory.
Got it. I got it.
And then you moved into
the kitchen.
In the kitchen, and you go, what the hell am I doing?
Then I got to go back to the living room and find it.
I'm fortunate enough. I live in a 2-story house with a full basement. Man, I lost count of how many times I hit that damn basement. And like, okay, this is a nice place to be.
Yeah, really.
I wonder why I'm here.
Yeah. What brought me down here?
There must have been some some motivator that brought me down here. I mean, I can't even remember why I went down there until I get back up to the second floor. Like, God
Back
dang.
up. There it is. I got it now.
Now, those bad when you get back down there and you forget again. Then you know you're having an
It's
all-time.
really easy to forget. It's really
Right.
easy to lose.
It's really easy to have days like that. So
Yeah.
ACT becomes a practice. So anyway, so there you go. The values, the get moving, that part of very important part of acceptance and commitment training and therapy. And by the way, that fits for like a business group as well. The business group needs to have a clear idea of where it's going.
Where are we heading?
So at that point, we call it a shared purpose.
Switch over.
Shared purpose. But it's still satisfying that same workability model. So the group, the couple, even if you're working with a couple, the couple needs to have a concrete, outspoken out loud, written down even direction. Where are you heading? What are you up to? And Phil and I have, after years of working with businesses, have found how amazingly fast they are at forgetting shared purpose. Like a week.
Whizzes right by him.
Right. It's really something to see how quickly. It's just humans. It's not a business. It's just humans in general. We tend to forget our shared purposes quickly. Maybe that's another sign of the times. I don't know. Trouble of the times with all of our inputs. So we'll have it. So next time, are we doing one on Wednesday? Or are we
Not
taking
on Wednesday. No, we're going to skip Friday.
We've had a couple of Wednesdays where we didn't have. But
Yeah.
anyway, Friday. What are we going to do Friday? Intermediate?
Well, I think we were going to do intermediate. And, well, you know, there's this thing that we do in ACT a lot where we use this stuff called metaphors.
No, not metaphors.
Yeah.
You mean words? You know, words are
Words.
You get deep enough into this, folks, you understand that individual words are metaphors. Anyways, they go, oh my God, there goes Kevin again.
Yep.
But yes, there's metaphors, there's those. But you know what? Long before then, in one of my favorite ACT books, by the way, folks, in case you say, oh, Kevin, he must really like them complicated ACT books. No, get out of your mind and into your
Yeah, really. Stands the test of time.
Has stood, and one of the mindfulness things is cubby holing. Well, guess what cubby holing sounds just like?
Uh-huh.
Sorting.
Ta-da!
Right, it's sorting. So we'll get toward that cubby holing, and
Yeah, that's a good place to go next.
that'll be a good place.
I like
so
that.
We'll do cubby holing / sorting, which is an intermediate level of that. So in the meantime, get moving. You know, if you're new at this, go for your get moving stuff.
Yep.
And we'll continue working on courses.
Absolutely.
And above all, click the green button and go buy a course, because we got to pay. Man, we cost us a lot of money to get this APA. Please go buy a course.
We have a live one coming up next month.
Even if you don't need one, yeah, there's a live one coming up next month.
And we'll send you, get an email about that soon.
Get an email about that soon, right? But buy courses. That's how we keep going. Now the plan is, folks, just so you know, of that, all the trainings will be here for free. I mean, we're not doing anything over on the APA side that we won't try to get over here as well. Well, it's not free. You got to have a computer and an internet connection.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's free, but you can get the credit for it over. Or if you just want to support us, just go over and buy the course and look at it. And anything. But if there's some part of ACT that you would like us to talk about, send us an email.
Oh yeah.
add in or something to tell us. But
We're all ears.
we can probably wrap our heads around it.
Yes.
We've been heavy. I've been heavy into this stuff for 20 years now.
And here on Crowdcast, we have literally hundreds of prior Crowdcasts where we have delved into all types of issues and circumstances.
Yeah, so let us know. But other than that, we'll just keep the basics. It's very valuable. This stuff is well, I mentioned at the end, it's a way of life. It's for the people who have adopted this way of life, which is it's not beholden to any great leader.
Nope.
Oh, there's
No guru worship here going on.
no hero worship, no nothing. It's just a way of being that includes you being with other people.
Yeah.
In a workable way. It's cool. It's a cool way of being. It just is that you don't have to go to any church, or you don't have to show up.
You have to be a card carrying, dues paying person and all that stuff.
Nothing like that. It's just a way of life, a way to roll yourself out of bed in the morning and get moving.
Get moving.
And notice a bunch of really cool stuff. It's a neat way of going. So there's more, but we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah.
We'd blow your mind if we run way out.
Hold off on that. Pump the brakes.
Off on it. But Friday, a little cubby holing, a little sorting, a little intermediate.
Cool.
We'll see you then.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for being here,
For joining us. You have a good one.
Bye-bye.